I was a terrorist since the public school era.
Alright, so finally we have a pretty warm day out that I could work outside and I could change the top of my convertible, which is exactly what we're going to be doing today. So I'm pretty excited. I have been cleaning the garage somewhat. I have a little bit of a mess in here. I was contemplating rolling this car out and then doing the top in here, but I think I'd rather do it outside because I don't want to let this car sleep outside. So anyways, just briefly I want to update you guys on right here from when you guys saw last time. This is actually the stock power steering reservoir. I cleaned it up, painted it black, cleaned up all these lines. This is the factory line right here from the 240. It fits perfectly, and so does this other line. And this is like not in the way at all. I'm actually pretty surprised. So that's kind of cool. All I had to do was cut the bracket towards this side, and then I bolted it onto pretty much a stock location. And bam, that's it. And this is the strut bar off of the convertible. I pulled it off because I kind of just rather have it on here. It's probably an eBay one. This thing doesn't really reinforce the chassis whatsoever, but it looks kind of cool. So we might clean this up and then put it on there. And as for back here, so the Koki might be going to a new home tomorrow. We'll see how true that is, but that'll be pretty awesome. So I'm gonna back this out. I was just going through the car because the guy might be driving it kind of far, so I just want to make sure I'm not selling him anything that might leave him on the side of the road. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with the Koki. I actually haven't turned it on in like about 4 or 5 weeks, and it started right up. So the thing is perfect. I was just looking at the brakes, the tires, making sure it has good PSI and everything. I also put a spare in the trunk for him because we did 5-lug swap this car. So yeah, now he has a spare. All right, so this is the top on our convertible. It is ripped to crap. Let's water into the cabin. So we have to replace this so we have a nice cruiser. I do hope that it's probably just as easy as a Miata, although I don't think it's going to be at all. All right, so this is my new top. My buddy gave it to me with the car when I purchased it. I'm not really sure the model or where this top is from, but it looks to be in pretty good condition. So this is the one we're going to be installing. There's a lot of brands out there, so do your homework. I'm not really too sure again on where this top came from. So anyways, I'll be following this thread and hopefully it goes by pretty smoothly. I do have pretty much everything that I need to replace the top, so it should be pretty good. Alright guys, so again, I am following a thread on Eco Club for this. It's a very detailed thread, but there is actually no videos on YouTube about this, so hopefully this will help somebody out there. I do have experience changing Miata tops, so maybe this will go by pretty smoothly for me, but who knows. So anyways, first step is to remove the rear seats and panels. So you got to remove this and both panels. All right, so I didn't remove the rear seats yet. I'm not gonna do it unless I absolutely have to. People on the forums tend to be a little over the top when working on your car, so obviously they wanna protect their interior, but I don't feel like doing it. So anyways, this cover right here, I think this cover used to end up covering all this, but it's kind of like no longer there. Maybe this top was replaced before. I'm not sure. The thread is a little bit confusing because they talk about the top as if you already know what you're doing. And it's kind of hard to tell exactly where they're talking about. But anyways, I think I have to mark right here just so that I could get a good estimate on the new top and where it's going to be. So I'm going to do that. They say that you have to mark where the top is glued onto the chassis, which I don't really see. So anyways, I'm thinking it's going to be right here. So I'm going to mark along this whole edge and keep going from there. So right now I'm removing this back piece. Remove the Phillips that was on here, put it back on the rail just so I don't lose it. Gonna do the same thing with this side. I probably won't be reinstalling this. I see no point in installing this if it's cut up and ugly and it does nothing. So anyways, gonna be taking this Phillips off now and then going on from there. This is very similar to the back of a Miata, kind of like a rain rail, I suppose. So anyways, I'm kind of just using my experience with a Miata to guide me with this. All right, so next I'd assume I'd move on to this rear rail right here, but I guess not. On the forum it says to do a rear seal carrier, so that's those 3 nuts. Wow, this top is in terrible condition. So those 3 nuts, and then there's like a Phillips somewhere, so I have to move the top halfway down to get to it. All right, so that's those little nuts right there. Now I'm moving on to this side. Gonna be doing those. All right, for rear seal carrier, then they want you to remove this Phillips. So I put the top halfway down, and it's hard to tell because of the light. So it's that little Phillips right there. And here's the Phillips on the other side. So you have to remove that one right there. All right, so on the thread, they call this the rear seal carrier. Really, it's just a seal with some bolts through it, but whatever. I thought you would think it'd be attached to a rail, but it's not. And repeat on this side. I'm kind of just placing everything in like a little order, so I don't forget where they go. All right, so those little side rails are now out. So I think now we're working on removing like the headliner, they call it. So you pull this out. And I don't think any of this is actually like, well, maybe it was glued on, I don't know. So now we're gonna do it to that side, and then we're gonna move on to this rail back here. All right, so apparently these Phillips are the worst. Mine's are actually coming out pretty easily. But on the forum it says to be really careful because these strip out extremely easy. So we're working on this rail right now. No. Totally just dropped a screw right now. I gotta find it. So just remember to be organized. Hardware is very specific for this. So I just took those bolts off the rail. Now I'm gonna pull it down. So there's some glue that holds this up. Then we're gonna take the top back down, and then we're gonna do the front part, and then the headliner should come off, I think. So let's see what happens. This is a slow Honda. All right. So I think now we do this carefully. Got the track hatch in the background. All right, so now we are gonna do this rail. So a bunch of little Phillips, same thing, be careful, don't strip them. The hell is this? You can see just how old and crappy all this fabric is. This car's gonna look pretty nice with a new top, and not to mention all this tape on the back. Now you should have the headliner totally off the car at this point. All right, so sorry, it gets kind of cramped, kind of hard to record. They're talking about taking these bows off the headliner. So you kind of just pry it. See, it looks kind of like this. So what I did, I just put a flat head and then just kind of pried against it, and then it comes off pretty easy with your hand. Same thing on this side, so this is the second set of bows. And then you do the same thing to this, and headliner should come down. And it's definitely not easy popping this off. You gotta remember, this stuff has been on for such a long time. So anyways, you just pry with a little flat head until you break it loose, and then it comes off pretty easily like this. And bam, headliner's out. I kind of do want to dye this again black. This thing looks pretty damn ugly. So maybe I'll do this tomorrow. I'll buy fabric paint, clean it up, and then spray it black. All right, so here is my headliner. Just to look so you guys can see it. So it's very faded up here. Maybe I'll use something like Tough Stuff, cleaned up, and then we'll buy like black fabric paint. Make it look all right again. So, yep. So now on to the main problem, which is the top. All this nastiness, probably got like mold and stuff on it. I hope that the new top comes with this. This looks like the tension strap, because my top sometimes has a hard time folding up equally, and maybe this has something to do with it. I don't know. But when I get this top off the frame, I am gonna go up and down with it so I could see where it binds and where it doesn't, because I want this thing to operate pretty smoothly. So all right, let's go on to the next step. You know what really sucks about Nico Club? It used to be such a smooth website, and they started putting so many ads on it. and it takes forever to load. All right, anyways, next step, you need to get a marking pencil back out, mark a line across the leading edge of the number 1 bow. All right, then remove the screws holding the cloth retainer to the bottom and number 1 bow. And I have no idea what or where this goes, but pretty sure this is not supposed to be like this. Same on, no, this side's all right, I guess. So this is where they want you to mark across the entire top. I'm just using a black Sharpie. So I guess you need to know this so that the placement of the new one is exact, because you're gonna be gluing that down, I suppose. So I'm just gonna go like this. Well, I figured out what's wrong with my top. Right here, this link is attached. And right here, this link isn't attached. So if you see, it wants to go down kind of crooked. So we're gonna be fixing that. We'll weld that sucker on there. All right, so next step is these bolts right here, retaining the first bow. Well, they're actually Phillips heads, so don't strip these out. All right, so next I just removed the rail that's holding that down. So the rail that goes along here, just gently pry it. Got that off. Next we're gonna be taking off the glue. So this part is not exactly easy. What I'm doing is I'm just kind of going along and prying it like this. All right, so next thing's next. You pull this seal back, weather stripping. There's one on the other side as well. Everything you do on this side, do it on the other side in case I don't cover it. So this is this. And then you have a Phillips here. And you have a 8mm little nut on this side. And as well as right here. All right, so no, I actually didn't take this rail off. It's only like this piece that is tucked underneath it. So by loosening it, I had enough space to get it out. All right, so after peeling back this side, you should have this pretty much loose. What we're trying to get to is this cable. So you want to drill out this rivet, and you're going to be installing it again on the new top, obviously, but you have to get this off. So now I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing. I now see why we need that staple gun. So you can see those staples right there. I need to clean this though. Look how filthy all this is. All right, so next it asks that you peel this back. I already did it on the other side. My spring on the other side is actually broken right here. So that's gonna be an issue. All right, so after that, it tells me to take off this fabric, but I think we already did that in the beginning of the video. I'm not exactly following all the steps word for word. So I already pulled off the fabric that was held on by the speed nuts. Now we got to get this whole rail off, kind of like a rain rail in the back of a Miata. So you got to undo all these bolts along the whole thing. And then I think the last thing holding on the top is really just this bow right here for the top of the window. All right, so pretty much what I've done is loosen this back rail. Looks like the top is glued to this back rail. And now I'm working on pretty much the portion for the back window. Unfortunately, mine is not probably a very good example of what yours will be like, because mine's was all taped up and like torn apart. So anyways, there's these wedges in here, and there's staples in these wedges to hold this down. So pretty much you take the staples off, and then this wedge moves. It's kind of hard to show you, but all right, so this is what it looks like after it's all off. I think the hardest part was the top of the rear window right here where it goes into this. And so on the thread, they tell you to take off the wedge right here, but their top looked a little different because it kind of overlaps this. And then the wedge kind of holds it into place, but mine's wasn't like that. So I don't know what kind of top this had, but I don't know, it sucked. So I think I pulled the wedge off for nothing, and I'm unsure of how that top installs. So anyways, this is what the back looks like. I'm gonna wire wheel all this Rust-Oleum black on some of the parts to make sure it's a little clean. I'm gonna vacuum all this. All this looks real crusty, and put this top back on. This part seems like a pain in the ass. Not as simple as a Miata, unfortunately. All this is stapled to this rail, and yeah, so that's gonna suck. It uses like this plastic wedge. They definitely should have let Mazda make a convertible for them instead, because they freaking suck. So anyways, got to take all this off and then position the new top, staple it to this, and then install this again. And I think that the window is a two-piece, because I've got the window right here. So this probably goes into place first, and then bolts onto that, maybe. We'll see. All right guys, so my top was actually in pretty damn bad shape. Not a very good example to show you guys on video, but pretty much what I did was I took it all apart. The part where the drape and the glass, well not the glass, the plastic rear window is, that part's a pain in the ass because mine for some reason didn't want to come out and it was terrible. But anyways, this is my rail right here. You're supposed to mark this in a couple places. I'm not gonna lie, I actually did not mark it down the center line like I should have. I lost my patience a little bit, but I think I'll be all right because my new top is actually marked in a couple of places. And I do have my old top here. I made a couple of marks, but I didn't mark the center line of it. But that's okay. We're gonna do what we can. So what I'm gonna do now is use this old top as a reference with the couple of marks that I made. I have my new top back there. I'm gonna take it inside and then staple it along this whole rear beam and pretty much just try to position it as best as I can. And then tomorrow, hopefully if it's not raining, because I picked the worst day. For some reason I thought that it would be the perfect day because it was so nice out, but it turned gray really quick. So anyways, and then when I can, I'll take the top with this little beam thing and then install it onto the car. Alright guys, so don't mind the mess inside my basement, but right now I am trying to put the top on the rail. So pretty much what I've encountered here, obviously the old top, which is laying on top, is not the same as the new top. The glass dimension, well the plastic window dimensions are different. So I think like the most accurate thing that I can use to kind of base my measurement off of is this right here. The Velcro is kind of more or less in the same spot, and I mean this top does kind of stretch. The fit doesn't have to be like 100% exact. Obviously mine's is kind of a bad reference, but we got to make it work. So if I could center this, then I'll be using this as a guide and just kind of tracing out some lines to cut and then staple them down here, and then we'll staple the other part over that. It is nowhere near as a direct replacement as what a Miata is. It's kind of annoying. I feel like I'm like making something with like a sewing machine or something. It's like a terrible experience. Right now I wish I had a coupe. Not gonna lie, at this point I'm not sure if I want to post this video because I'm not really enjoying this, but if the top comes out good, then why not? So I just finished tracing out the other top along the bottom, and now I gotta cut with some scissors, which is ultimately kind of sketch because I could potentially ruin this top, but I think my measurements are all right.
The smooth criminal on beat breaks. Never put me in your box if your city shakes. The city never sleeps. Killer villains and creeps. That's where I learned to do my hustle. Had to stop. Alright guys, so sorry to record any of this current content. Pretty much the top is now on that rear frame, and it is extremely tedious. It's a lot of measuring, and what I ran into was that the old top actually wasn't centered on that frame. So I measured the plastic glass thing and I centered it, so I was kind of referencing the old top for placement along the rail at the bottom, but also I had to shift my new one so that it is properly installed somewhat, because you want to remember that maybe the top that was on the car probably wasn't installed correctly. They could have cut corners, so you want to consider all of that while putting your new one on. And this is what it looks like currently. So it was a huge pain in the ass. Like, this is where all your mechanical ability is no longer required. It is all upholstering. So I have that installed. I got the straps on this side. This is just giant mess of stuff I had to do. So hopefully this goes on pretty nicely, because you want to do a pretty good job putting it on this, because if not, when you stretch the fabric on over the rails, then it might have like wrinkles and look kind of ugly. Again, I don't really know if it's gonna do that. I hope not. Because my other top was way off. Like, the center line of my other top was like out here. Also, the plastic window is a completely different size. So I believe this top has a little more spacing along the bottom here than my previous one. So what I had to do was just take into account the whole dimensions of that actual drape from up here. Yesterday I started kind of late, and then also recording and reading a thread, it just took forever. So now hopefully we could install this and then run out to AutoZone and get some fabric paint for the headliner.
Alright, so now I gotta work on fixing this little thing. So this little link is supposed to be attached right here, but it actually broke off, so I'm just gonna MIG weld in there a little bit. Keep it in position, that way it could go up and down evenly. As for these straps that used to go from here to here to here to here, I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do about that because mines were all broken anyways, and the top still worked fine, so I might just run it without it, unless I find like a decent material to do it real quick. We'll see. Alright, got the little hole bar out. Alright guys, so finally it got kind of sunny out. I've been working on the car like 15 minutes at a time and then covering it back up. It was really ugly and gray out earlier. So I ended up using for my straps, that's my top right there. I'm about to try to stretch it on. This really sucks, but anyways, I ended up using like a belt, you know, like those strap kind of belts for this, because mine didn't even have this. So this should definitely help the top come up more evenly. So I used this, and yeah, then I'm going to, when I position the top drape plastic window, then I can find out the position of this one down here, and then I'll stretch this back and staple it on. Alright, so this part is definitely kind of hard. I completely failed the first time, but you got to get this little bead right here through here, and that's what holds the drape up. So yeah, it's a pain in the ass. If you have another person, it's awesome. Alright, so I've completely read all the threads on this, so I'm just going to go at it my own way. We do have to glue a bunch of stuff around here, but right now I'm going to worry about getting this rail seated so I could position this top bow with my strap and continue from there. Alright guys, so these belt straps are actually working out pretty good. It's a pain in the ass to kind of position this. You want to get it to where the rear drape has the most tension, but also to where it could even out all these bows while you close it. So I kind of just been playing with it, and this is what I came up with. So again, that little thing under here holds the drape, and then this strap helps pull the drape up so you have more tension on that bow. So that's working out pretty well. I do want to attach this to here, but these little rivets are kind of sketch, and this is actually aluminum, so I'm not really sure if I'm gonna be able to. If I don't attach this, it's not too big of a deal because all this is attached with linkages, so all this mechanically kind of comes forward anyways. But as long as you have all three of these bows, I think you should be all right. Again, kind of just use your judgment. I'm not completely following the thread. My top was like torn apart. I didn't have all the stuff that they did on their top, like the OEM straps were all messed up. So but this is working out all right. So now I'm going to copy the other side so you can see there how that's working. Also, what's pretty neat about this top is that it already has this little string right here, so you can pull your little steel braided cable through. And I ended up fixing this little spring. What I did was I just uncoiled the very bottom spring and just made that the new hook point for now. Alright, so now I'm going to contact cement onto this rail. I've already cleaned it up with some lacquer thinner so that the cement sticks pretty good. And then I'm going to be using these clamps so that to hold it on there for a while. Alright, so this is what it's looking like so far. You got to remember that this is a new top, so a lot of these wrinkles will eventually go away after the sun bakes it and stretches it out a little bit. So just be mindful that, like, I'm pulling up here just so I could see exactly where everything is gonna position itself along this rail. It's a pain in the ass though, but yeah. But I would say the most important part is down here, because this is where it's gonna get the most amount of tension for a while until it stretches a little bit. So definitely put it like a really good clamp down there. All right guys, so top is kind of working out so far. Right now so I've already glued all these areas with contact cement, and I have like vice grips on several parts of the top. Now I'm working on this front section, so I guess I'm kind of more or less along their dotted line here. It would have been nice if they actually had like real markings everywhere, because most of the markings that they originally had are all gone, but you could kind of still see them here. So anyways, I'm going to be gluing this over the front frame right here, and then putting that bracket that goes on there. So now I'm going to be cutting all this excess material and along the whole thing. It's kind of scary though. You could ruin your top if you don't do it correctly, but I think we're pretty good. Make sure you put this tension cable. That's what helps bring this outer edge forward. So the tension cable's under here. Make sure that you don't forget that. So far, the only thing I don't really like is this crease down here. Again, this could stretch over time with the sun, especially once I clamp it forward. But yeah, like it's really hard to position this like perfectly along that rail in the back, unless you've done it a million times. I'll live with this though. And on this side, I think we did pretty good. These wrinkles should come out. This is kind of just like crease marks from when the top was folded. But over here, I think we did pretty good. All right, guys, so Henry came by. He brought Dunkin' Donuts, which I really needed. He's also the guy that's making me do this top because he sold me the car with a bad top. He doesn't know how hard this thing was. So now, I am working on this part. I already cut my edge. I'm gonna be contacting cement along this whole thing. And then I'm gonna be pinning it down for a little while I put the bracket down. Ideally, if you have a bunch of these or a bunch of pressure pliers, that would work awesome, but I'm using all of them currently, so I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'll figure it out. And Henry's over here working on GK Tech subframe reinforcement plates.
This thing is gonna be a pain in the ass because they don't come like.
Oh, so it like barely fits?
Yeah, you have to be like probably like cut a little bit.
Nah, you just gotta use a hammer. You use a hammer for everything, bro. If it doesn't fit, you hammer it.
I don't want to crack.
Boom! You don't want to crack what?
More.
It's not gonna crack. You're gonna have to clean it though. That sucks because look at all this grime.
Yeah.
So use a. I got a wire wheel over here. Use a wire wheel. Damn, Jack just got here looking clean as hell.
Yeah, no, bro, you were just real dirty in here. No, what's up? I'm ready to work. Any on my floor.
You want to help me do this top? It fucking sucks.
Looks like a bitch.
Bro, it was so much work, dude. I want to cry right now. I don't want to ever do it again.
It's been what, 3 days and a half now?
No, it's 2 days though. And like most of my night. Alright guys, so this is my headliner. I'm going to use fabric paint, spray it black. And we're going to send it and put it back in.
You set up the subframe? Everything is good?
This is what I'm using right here. I've never actually used this on anything of mine, but I've seen people use it.
Finish tightening up the arm. Alright. One down. A lot more to go. Oh, you smell like bubblegum.
Alright guys, so I have been slaving away. Convertible top has kicked my ass. I don't want to do it again. Just a word of advice though, when putting on this fabric on the headliner in the back, just throw it away. Just throw it, right, Jack?
Yeah,
just throw the headliner away. But what makes the headliner a little bit easier to install is to use that same contact cement along the back and then paste the fabric on it. That'll help keep the fabric up while you put the rail on. But it's a pain in the ass. So that's about it. I read through the thread for the tops, but I did not follow it towards the install because really it's just installing it in reverse order. I've done tops before, so I'm kind of aware of like the cable along the sides and the straps, you know, like I kind of understand the structure of the top closing on the frame. But it is a pain in the ass. I just want to say, if you're doing a top, do it inside a covered area. I did my top in my driveway. It actually rained both days that I was installing it. Now it's stopped raining and it's cold as shit. But also the heat helps it. You want to make sure the top is kind of somewhat tight and it stretches on and not too bad. Like for example, when you do a top on a Miata, you need like 3 people to close it when you replace a Miata top. But with this one, it's kind of snug. It's not like too tight, but you definitely want it to be a little tighter than loose, because when you close it, that'll like take away the wrinkles that it's got on it, and it'll also stretch somewhat in the summer. Right now it's kind of cold, so that probably won't be happening, but I won't be lowering this top for a long time, just because I want the fabric to kind of stretch on the frame a little bit. But that is it. That's my headliner in place. Also, I put back my little weather strip thingy that goes in there. And what also kind of sucks about this top is that I have OCD and I'm very like OEM enthusiast based, and everything has to go back. But if you're not like OCD, just like skip a bunch of hardware and like just make them disappear.
What is OCD? Can you explain that a little more?
Because of this dude, right? Dude, you should have sold me a coupe, bro. It's this guy's fault. He sold me the car because he didn't want to do the top.
No, that wasn't true.
Top sucks, bro. Top
Looks
sucks
great
big time.
though.
But it does look great. Let's show him. I didn't even see. I still have to close the front, but I have the other thing on there.
Don't drop the glue inside the...
Nah. Well, we gotta replace that carpet anyway, so who cares? So this is what the top looks like on the outside. All right, so Jack's gonna help me close the soft top with the new top in place. Again, guys, it might be a little hard because you kind of want to stretch the fabric onto it. So let's do it. Super slow. Slowly.
Ow. Something followed me.
What?
Alright, mine is
All right, so this is what the top looks like stretched on there. Again, it does have wrinkles from like when it was folded, and it's gonna take some time. This bow ended up shifting a little bit to the left when I was taking out the wedge out over here. So yeah, I got to deal with that a little bit. But overall, it came out pretty good. He's working on this, on all this subframe stuff. We're gonna be welding that in a second. So yeah, you can see like this bow right here isn't protruding as hard, but I don't know, it doesn't look too bad. This crease kind of bothers me a little bit, but I don't know. I think if I could shift that bow over a little bit, then it'll probably bring this up, and then this probably won't be there. But overall, it came out pretty good.
There's a lot worse.
Anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for this video. Top install. Hope this helped somebody out there do a top on their 240. It's a pain in the ass. Be ready to do like a full-time project. It takes a long time, but be very patient with it and have fun. Yo, show us how far you've gotten.
We probably halfway. Well, I already did all the, you know.
Oh, that one goes there?
Here. Yeah, this one go over here. I already did the cleanup for this one. They're going, I think this is for that